So we're given by the city budget office right now a cap of about $750 million for that bond. And the city's goal is really to try and get back to, rather than having kind of ad hoc bonds that deal with different issues every 2 or 4 or 6 years, to get back to kind of a 6-year omnibus bond that addresses the core city needs for the future. And that lets us plan better around both capital expenses as well as our budget, as well as, again, kind of have comprehensive strategic plans for how we spend those dollars in a smart way. In terms of my priorities, then, a lot of it's going to be similar to what I mentioned a moment ago. A lot of it's going to be about land, and in particular, I think for me, it's going to be about green spaces and making sure that we've got a great program in place. We still have a city that's upwards of almost 30% parkland deficient, and that's citywide. That's not any one particular district. You could find parts of really any district that are in need of greater access to green space. So making sure that we are, again, kind of at the best moment where land will be the cheapest, which is this second, making sure that we can invest in a smart way using that bond to address those issues. The other challenge really is, we get a lot of folks that are coming to us really every single day saying, hey, we need more money for XYZ. And so a lot of it from then is just going to be about making sure that we've got a good reflection of where we feel like the city's deepest needs and priorities are, relative to knowing that we've got limited bandwidth in that bond. And we might have some folks that might want to go beyond the $750 million cap, but then you start getting into a financing issue where the cost of bond could become a lot more expensive. And we don't want that to happen for the city. We don't want to get downgraded anyway. So I feel pretty firm that we need to listen to our city staff about their recommendations for the gross amount that we've got to work with. At that point, again, it's about prioritizing where we can best spend those dollars. But for me, I'd be starting in green space. I'd be starting in things like water conservation. That's another main area that I feel like where bond really has to be spent on infrastructure-related projects. And we are, unfortunately, in some ways, from my perspective, a bit behind on our conservation efforts. We were doing really well up until about 2018 or so. If you look at the numbers, we were improving really every year up until then, and then it kind of plateaued and has actually gone up. I say it's become worse in the last 6 years in terms of our conservation efforts. Our lakes are hovering the low 40% in terms of how full they are. So I think there's a lot of work to do there as far as extending purple piping and even just education and rebates and things that we can do to make sure that people are using the best technology and tools and have the best education at their disposal for water conservation.
It's my understanding that the city's sort of pulling some public feedback about that bond right now and trying to figure out what people want to see. How much does that weigh in when you all make these decisions, getting that public feedback back?
That's going to be really critical. And we've got our own budget town hall scheduled for District 10 in early August that we're excited to get. And those are usually, from my experience, going to them pretty well attended. We get a lot of good ideas and get a good kind of sense about where people's priorities and maybe concerns are. So I'm very much looking forward to the feedback that we get. They'll pretty much be one in every single district. Plus, I think there's going to be some other avenues for collecting public feedback around bond priorities and where people's priorities and where they want to see improvements and so on are. So I think that's going to be an incredibly valuable tool, and I'll be paying close attention to make sure that we're in alignment with what people and their needs are for that bond.